What's up, Bills fans? This is the Buffalo Fanatics Film Session Live. I'm your co-host, Clay Troy, and over here we've got
Kendall Mursky. How is everyone doing this week? How's it feel to be back-to-back AFC East champions? Sounds pretty nice. How you feeling about it, Clay?
I feel pretty good about it, especially since the way things were going midway through the season. I didn't know if they were going to be able to win the division. I was thinking playoffs definitely was still in the conversation and likely, but division I wasn't so sure. So it definitely feels good that is done with now. We've gone ahead and we did it. And huge weight off the chest of a lot of Bills fans, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's definitely, like you said, a lot of weight off the shoulders for winning the division back-to-back. There was a lot of doubts midway through this season. There was a lot of variance. There was a lot of inconsistency. But this team got back to the form where they were playing strong. They were playing good complementary football. Everyone's doing their job, and we were winning tough games, not easy games. But then again, no game in the NFL is an easy game. Every team is a good team. We saw the Jets put up a fight there for a little bit. But yeah, that's who we're doing for this week. We promised you guys the split show, and we're going to start with the Jets stuff, and then we're going to roll into some Patriots talk because, yes, we did win the division, but we got to prove it again this week in the wild card round.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was kind of fun doing something a little bit different.
Right.
So I hope you guys enjoy it. But yeah, it's very different we were just kind of talking about before the show. It's very different to look at a game that already happened and say, this is what happened. That's pretty much what we do on a regular basis and kind of just go into detail on that. But now we're kind of, this is what has happened and what could happen. And so it's very complex, but it was a lot of fun going through and rewatching some of that old Patriot stuff and kind of seeing what might happen in the future here.
Yeah, so Clay actually pulled, for, I guess, just a little precursor, Clay pulled clips from the Bills matchups against the Patriots. I went and looked at what the Dolphins did this past week to beat the Patriots, and I pulled some things from it where I thought, I don't know necessarily the Bills would copycat, but you can mimic some aspects of what the Dolphins did offensively, defensively, or not do offensively, defensively, depending on the outcome, things like that. So yeah, different show in line for the people tonight. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. We might just start doing it for the playoffs. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
We'll see where we're going with it direction wise, but if you guys like it, we might have to.
Yeah, exactly. For all those that are in the chat already, thank you guys so much. We got Zach King, John Herring, Chris S, Pops Mafia, a lot of the regulars in here, Corey Buffalo. Thank you guys all for coming in here and joining us today and going over some films. So, are you starting, Kendall? I can't remember what we said.
Yeah. I'm going to start today. I got to get mine rewound all the way to the start. So I figure this week, going into this game against the Patriots, it's going to be a lot about winning in the trenches, as it usually is against the Patriots, and stopping the run, especially in inclement weather like we're probably going to have. So we gotta have good D-line play. And the defensive line played pretty well this past week against the New York Jets, but so did the entire defense, limiting to under 100 total yards. But here we got Greg Rousseau, who is featured on our show back-to-back weeks now, I guess. Greg Rousseau is here in a 3-point stance. Nothing crazy special in terms of a pass rush plan here, but you see him use those long arms and really just bully that offensive tackle, get him back off onto his heels for a few steps in the backfield. And then once again, the length comes into play again. He's right in that passing lane and he gets his hands up and he makes the play on the ball. But the really nice part about this is you look at the sideline vision of this. guy Wilson's targeting here, he is just wide open. That ball will be completed if Rousseau doesn't get a hand on it. Bills playing, I love this. I don't know if you have seen the Bills play this defense, Clay, but this is a very interesting defense. We got these two guys playing in press. Well, it's a zone. They're in press coverage off the rip. And then we got, looks like single high safety coverage here. And I believe this is Poyer. He rolls into this deep half, and Teron Johnson rolls backwards into the opposite deep half. And then Micah Hyde comes from his slot position, kind of plays in that Tampa 2 role. So it's a very, very disguised Tampa 2 coverage. And Zach Wilson finds his answer. He does. Like, this is the open man here. And Rousseau takes it away.
Yeah, that's a very interesting coverage. I don't know if I've noticed that before, but that is really cool. And I love that the way that John McDermott and Leslie Frazier disguise their coverages, and they're both so smart with that. But yeah, Rousseau here just using, making good use of his length and his size, getting up there and jumping. That's something that I feel like we maybe have not seen as much from him as we would like to, where, he's kind of getting in that throwing lane a little bit and getting his hands up there. So it was nice to see that he's able to do that and be able to time that correctly, get his hands in the right place. Really excited. The whole defensive front had such a great game as a whole, Greg Rousseau included. And, I'm just so pleased with the way that he's been playing.
Yeah, he's definitely been playing well, but for this week specifically, it's going to take what he's been doing the best at this whole season, and that's run stopping. And we see it here on these next two plays. This is the name of the game this season for him. It's been being unblocked off that edge and just running across the formation. And once again, you see the length come into play. Like he has a play on the ball. He's unblocked. He has a straight line to the to the ball carrier. But I mean, he makes a hell of an effort to get over there with his length and make a diving stop here. You can really see it on this end zone cam. Like, he's covering a lot of ground to close in and pursue that tackle. So really impressive play, even given the fact that he's unblocked. And that, like I said, that's been something we've talked about week after week after week with Greg Rousseau. He's been unblocked and he's making plays across the formation on these outside zone runs.
Yeah, and credit to Jerry Hughes and Harrison Phillips as well, because that's the side that this run play is designed to go to.
Right.
And those guys getting back into the backfield and getting that depth in there forces the cutback into an unblocked Greg Rousseau. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if this was not planned for or what, but Tyler Kroft just not touching Greg Rousseau is just a huge mistake. You have to put a hand on him at least, because he can make the plays from the backside when he's unblocked like that. Even if there wasn't a cutback, he still probably has a chance to make a play if that running back has to slow down to make a cut in any direction. So yeah, I'm not sure why any team at this point would watch Bill's film and say, yeah, I think we can leave Greg Rousseau untouched on this run play.
Yeah, he's definitely proven time and time again that that's a mistake from the offense. Got to at least get a hand on him, like you said. So, and then on this next one here, this is just a really impressive, football intelligence play, but also athleticism to knife through and navigate through traffic here. He can feel that all of these blockers are climbing to the second level, kind of similar to the last play where they're climbing to the next level and their eyes are on Milano and Edmonton to spring their running back onto the second and third level of the defense. And Rousseau just knifes through all of them and really gets to his spot before the pulling guard can get to his. And it causes just havoc in the backfield. And he's there with Poyer to get his assisted TFL.
Yeah, and this is just great execution on a play call. I mean, you got Poyer coming in on the outside, so Rousseau has taken that gap inside, and it's just very well executed for him to, like you said, just kind of rifle through there and get into the backfield and disrupt the play before it can even get started. Poyer comes along from that outside position and helps as well. So, I actually going through this game, I saw. I believe it was this game. It actually might have been New England, the New England game, which I was watching more of. But Boogie Basham made a very similar play to this, where he just kind of, when they do this, where they send those guys inside, these rookies are so big and athletic, and they're able to kind of shoot through those gaps like that. His skill set is just unmatched.
That is kind of the neat part about the two defensive ends that we drafted this year. They are kind of tweeners in our system. They probably would fit best as what is it? Those 5-tech 3-4 defenders instead of being a true like on the edge of a 4-3 or our case a 4-2 defense. They really do thrive on the inside because they are quicker than guards on the inside and they are stronger than most tackles on the outside. So they present different challenges depending on where they line up, and getting them to stunt inside or knife inside or whatever you want to call it specifically on this run fit, it does kind of play to what they're best at, or not necessarily what they're best at, but it also puts a lot of stress on offensive linemen to kind of counter those abilities that Rousseau offers and Basham offers when they get inside and they can use their natural power and their play strength. So yeah, that's definitely an example of it on this play. And like you said, that Boogie Basham play from, if it may be the Patriots game or not.
Whatever game it was.
All right, so we're going to move on to my next defensive lineman. And I wanted to talk about Ed Oliver because we've taken a hiatus from Ed Oliver talk. So I figured we could bring him back. He had a pretty impressive game this past week. Most people will remember that play where he shot the gap and he almost got the forced fumble on a handoff in the backfield, but I didn't include that because there's not much to break down. That's just jumping the snap and being great. But on this play here, you just see Ed in total control of the man blocking him. He goes inside on this rush, gets on that inside shoulder, and he's really in control this entire time. Let me slow this down. He's in control this entire time, turning his lower body, pushing his man back. And you can see his man is really on his heels at this point. And he's in total control to the point where when he sees Zach Wilson break to the outside, he shrugs his man, he sheds off of him, and he gets to the outside of him with ease and forces a hurry hit knockdown here. And of course, an awkward throw, albeit, I mean, Zach Wilson makes this throw look pretty nice, minus the accuracy of it all, but he got that throw off with some power. So good play by him to escape the pocket and make the throw in the first place, not get sacked like, a Matt Ryan probably would have, like we saw last week. But this is really a nice hurry hit knockdown play from Ed Oliver. A lot of hustle, a lot of effort, a lot of motor, which is the name of the game with that guy.
Yeah, he's just so impressive to watch this year. The way that he's developed and been able to turn himself really into that starting 3-tech that we've kind of been wanting him to be. It's just so fun to watch the way that he uses his power and that motor. And in cases like this, I honestly think his height is advantageous because being the low man in situations like this. Aaron Donald too is another guy who benefits from that. Being the low man can really contribute to you winning that rep against an offensive lineman, and he kind of takes advantage of that here, where you can see the shoulder pad height difference.
Right.
That Jets lineman's shoulder pads are above Ed Oliver's pretty much the whole time during this rep. So yeah, it's what else can you say other than just he's just a grinder.
Yeah, that's what he's been doing all year. He's been grinding, and it's clearly showing its dividends this year. But I had to include this next play. I'm sure people have seen it on Twitter, but this is Ed Oliver over here in a wide 9 technique with, this is an interesting front. The Bills aren't often with 2 down linemen and everyone else is standing up in this 2-4-5 front, and we got Basham standing up, we got Rousseau standing up, we got Edmonds standing up, and then we got Milano outside of Oliver on the wide 9 technique. But look at how Oliver executes from this area of the field. Like, we see him as just that grinder on the inside, but this is him doing it on the outside. Yeah, it's not the cleanest spin move in the world. It's not what you would like to see, from a Dwight Freeney pulling his signature swim move on the edge. But like, this is it. This is him grinding. This is his motor. This is him getting to the quarterback however he can, and that's what he does. He's got the power. He's got the athleticism, and he can couple it together on given downs. I didn't look. I should have looked, but I'm sure this is a 3rd and long where it's like, pin your ears back, go after the quarterback. We're not asking you to play run fits on this play. Just go after it, get the quarterback. And this isn't even like holding on to the ball too long. I'll play it in real speed here. Yes, it takes a while for him to get to the quarterback, but I wouldn't say he's holding on to it too long. Like, yeah, he should have gotten rid of it, but this was about 4 seconds when I timed it, which isn't fast, but it's also not, holy shit, you got to get rid of the ball. So pretty impressive to see Ed Oliver winning from multiple areas of the defensive line.
Yeah, it's just so cool to see a guy playing out of position and winning the reps still. And it's just it's just a motor type of a play where I don't even know if he thought about spinning there at any point. I think it was just the lineman started to go upfield and his shoulder was going that way. And I think he was just like, all right, I guess I'm spinning now. And it worked out because he went in there as hard as he could and made something out of it. But yeah, it's the whole, like I said, the whole defensive front was just on fire getting to Zach Wilson. I think this was later on in the game. So yeah, maybe they were in his head at this point a little bit.
At this point, maybe. I mean, honestly, just the balance on this play, like to lean yourself up against it. Like he should be bendy. Falling here. Like
he almost looks bendy.
Right?
It's crazy.
It is really crazy. And to see people still trying to hit the argument that Oliver has been a bust because of his sack production and stuff like that. Like, yes, the sacks come. This is obviously an example of him getting a sack, but he's so much more than that. And him getting that pressure on that incompletion that I showed the play before, like that, it's all part of the puzzle when it comes to Ed Oliver. Like he's doing more than just getting sacks on the quarterback. He is a truly complete defensive tackle, albeit not 315 pounds space eater, but he is a complete defensive tackle. He has shown that he can defend the run and get after the quarterback. So slam dunk, in my opinion, at this point where the yields have paid off this season.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I don't remember who it was that wrote that article. I think maybe for ESPN or CBS, someone.
I think it was NFL.com.
Was it NFL.com?
I think it was NFL.com. Yeah.
But yeah, so the whoever wrote that article about the 5-year option, the 5th-year option, saying that the Bills should not tender that. Which is just it's completely ridiculous because
it's ridiculous.
He said he's a liability in run defense, I think is what he said.
I think he said all of it. He said he's a liability. He said verbatim, like you said, liability in run defense, but then also pointed to his 12 career sacks to this point, that being lackluster, which yes, it is after how many seasons he's been here, but still, like, sack production isn't everything. It's not.
No, it's really not. He's done so many other things to, up the middle of that defense that makes it worth it. So, yeah. All right. I was not at the beginning of my video, so I'm going to pull mine up now and talk about the Jets game. There's just a few plays that I want to talk about from the Jets game, just because I really liked some of the play designs, and most of them are screen passes, short passes, just getting the ball into guys' hands in open space with blockers in front of them. It's something that I feel like the Bills haven't really utilized enough this season, or these kind of screen passes and things like this. So I was really happy to see things like this, especially since this one here is the very first play from scrimmage for the Bills. And they do a little tight end screen here, and Dawson Knox gets like 20 yards out of this play. This is an awesome play where I think they can utilize Knox like this more frequently, because he's a guy that can break tackles downfield as well. And if you get him into some space, but yeah, it's well executed as well. The linemen give their little tap. I think someone gets downfield a little bit early, but it's okay. The ball is thrown behind the line of scrimmage, so all good there. I just am a huge fan of plays like this, and especially when it's a guy like Dawson Knox, who you don't expect tight end screens quite as much as you would expect from a running back or a wide receiver. So I love little things like this.
Yeah, this is a really good play design and play call. I mean, the way teams just in general, defenses want to play against the Buffalo Bills, it's to sit back and make sure that you don't get beat over top of your safeties. And you can see they have 3 guys deep here, and everyone's making sure, because we're running clearing routes, you got to make sure those guys are in front of you, and you already only have 8 guys in the play at that point when you have 3 dropping deep on a tight end screen like this. I mean, this is a way that we see tight ends around the league getting manufactured touches. Like we saw, when Zach Ertz got traded to the Cardinals, they didn't really have the full playbook installed for him. So they were like, all right, let's just get him on some easy tight end screens, things like that. Like we see Travis Kelce getting tight end screens, like not just vertical threats down the field. They have to be able to do these kind of nuanced, slow play kind of plays. And honestly, like you said, the offensive line sells this for me. For me, they're playing this perfectly, where they aren't just giving a chip and going like way too soon, because that's what's going to blow this play up. If you see 3 offensive linemen get outside the numbers quickly, all the linebackers are going to know, okay, this is a screen. We got to flow to this direction. And you see all the linebackers are kind of frozen in their drops because of the play action fake as well. And then once they see the play action fake, they're like, oh no, we got to get back into our zone. So the motion to it all and then flowing into the tight end screen, it's really just a great play design. And yeah, like you said, we definitely got away from it this year. I think we saw a lot of screens early in the season, and hopefully we're just starting to get them back.
Yeah, definitely. I also love the pre-snap motion on this. That's something that the Bills, should have been utilizing more. They weren't running it too much, I don't think, earlier in the season, but he's starting to do it a lot now. And I love pre-snap motion more than anything. Move your guys around. The defense, all the linebackers here have to shift over. They all kind of shift over slightly. It just gives you a little bit extra space to work on the sideline, and you're on the short side of the field to begin with. So, yeah, big fan of that. And then someone said it here. Brown ate a pancake. He actually takes out two guys with a second one with his knee on accident, I'm assuming.
Hoping.
But yeah, going down the field, he finds a defensive back that he can pick on, and then another one comes running by and trips over him. So yeah, good on Spencer Brown on this one. I think even if he got that first hit without falling down, I think he blocks the second guy anyway. Yeah. The second play is there's another screen pass, but this one's to Devin Singletary. Once again, good job by the line, not leaving too early. They sell it pretty well. Everyone's still kind of hanging out. They're even facing backward. I don't know if that's coached or not, but they're looking backward as if like, oh shit, I lost my rep. And then as soon as Singletary catches, everyone turns around and runs upfield. I have to imagine that's not coached like that, but two guys do it. So the way that they sell it is really good. Yeah. And then, not only that, but they get a lot of good blocks downfield as well. Singletary slips through a tackle, and just another play where you're getting the ball into Singletary's hands just a little with four guys taken out of the play. These four guys are now like out of it. I think one of them comes back and eventually does end up making the tackle down the field. So, being involved at least, but four guys are out of the play and you've got four blockers in front of you if you're Devin Singletary. So it's just a great type of play for them to run. And I hope they run it a little bit, at least a couple times here against the Patriots.
Yeah. Like we said before, I mean, there's not much more for me to add on this, but yeah, we got away from the screen ball. Like we were definitely doing it a lot. Like remember last year, how many times we were audibling into screens to John Brown. And we saw that a little bit at the start of this season where we were audibling into manufactured screens for Diggs or Beasley. And we saw that it can work, but if you overutilize it, you kind of saturate you saturate all of your film and everyone's going to take it away. And we got to the point where we're back in the season where we haven't used it a lot and people are they're scared of us downfield or at the intermediate level. So this is how you stretch the field vertically, not only at the 50 yards from the line of scrimmage, but also at the line of scrimmage. That's how you stretch a defense vertically. You have to have threats at all levels. And with the way Singletary has been playing, any way that we can get him the ball in space, it's a plus.
Absolutely.
He's been lights out for the past 4 or 5 weeks. So yeah, any way we can manufacture him more touches, the better.
Speaking of more Singletary touches, the next play also is a similar play that's designed to get Singletary the ball in space. It's just a simple swing pass, and it's a motion that they run a lot. That kind of across, but behind Josh Allen, you line up in the shotgun. He motions from one side of Josh Allen out to the other side. And it's just a simple flare pass. You get, once again, the linemen are out in front, little bit of a pass pro fake, and then they're off. Those two guys are off now and they're blocking downfield. They don't even really need to be out there because it's the way that they're attacking. It's as if they have a bunch of guys at the line of scrimmage. I think they maybe sent 6 on this. I didn't count before. They sent 7 on this play, but I just love little plays like this where it's, once again, put your guy out in space on the sideline, and the way, like you said, the way Singletary's been running, give him a little bit of space with the ball in his hands and he can make something happen. And this was on a day where they were struggling at times to be able to find that end zone, which has been a theme for this season a little bit, not so much the second half, but it's nice to be able to have these little plays that they can throw in there to spice it up a little bit.
I was literally going to go to the point where Pops Mafia brought up Diggs was open too. That's kind of the direction I wanted to go with this because as great as this play is, this play creates so many different wrinkles off of it, because when you have that pre-snap motion with a running back in motion at the time of the snap, rolling into the flats with blockers out in front of him, defenses have to react as if it's a screen swing pass out there. And when they do that, that means the opposite side of the field is open. And that's what we see with Diggs working across the formation. So now the wrinkle off of this is maybe not have someone start on the opposite side of the formation, but maybe have it even where you have 2x2 set and you have two guys blocking on the right side for the screen swing pass option. And then you come across to the backside of the play and there's maybe another bubble screen on the backside of the play. And that's the kind of window dressing that we see from teams like the Cardinals, the Chiefs, teams that like to utilize motion with their running backs or gadget wide receivers, things like that. It doesn't all have to be done with Isaiah McKenzie. It can be done with people like Singletary or whoever's in the backfield. Anyone who's in motion at the snap has to be treated as a threat. So you got to use that to create wrinkles in your playbook. And I have no doubts in my mind that Dable has wrinkles off this play.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, like I said, it's a motion that we see a lot. We've seen them do that little motion with the running back out a lot. And they do run so many different things out of it that it's just like, one of those little things, like you said, the little wrinkles that Dable has where he can create something out of nothing in kind of a way. So
exactly.
Yeah, it's I'll be sad when he leaves, assuming that he's probably going to get a head coaching job somewhere.
If we do it again this offseason, I'll be shocked if we retain either of them.
Yeah, after the production that the offense has had, the way that Josh Allen has developed, I can't imagine that anyone passes or that everyone passes on Dable. I know he's interviewed with the Giants, or he's interviewing with the Giants and the Bears, I think. So yeah, someone's going to take him. If not those two, someone else has got to snatch him up. Last play for play design. I just want to talk about it real quick because it was so bizarre and we haven't really seen anything like this. Josh Allen is split out wide on this one. The play wasn't there when he went out in motion, but from under center, or not under center completely, at least, because that would be a penalty, but he motioned out to the sideline, split out wide. But he just kind of stands there through this entire Wildcat play. And I'm pretty sure this is not even an option for Singletary. It is a fake the jet sweep and take it yourself. But there are other things that you can run out of this. And I think maybe he's trying to put this out there to say, hey, we might be up to something, to just kind of throw people off a little bit. We might see it in the playoffs if he's feeling a little frisky at some point. But I do think that they could run something out of this and be pretty successful with it as well, especially because Josh Allen not moving at all. I can't imagine that this was the play call was, Josh, I don't want you to move. That had to have been like an intentional thing where it's, we're going to set this up where you don't move. And then the next time we run it, you don't move for a couple seconds and then you go run a route or something like that, or we're going to throw it back to you out of this play. So yeah, I think that it's going to be kind of cool to see what they do with this one. You also got Isaiah McKenzie, maybe Josh lead blocks for Isaiah McKenzie, which I think would be really stupid, but hey, you never know.
It could be used in the playoffs, but yeah, I wouldn't want to do that against the Jets.
Blocking, I wouldn't feel too bad about that if I'm Isaiah McKenzie, to be honest. See, it's a pretty big dude running in front of you, but yeah, there's a lot of different things that you can do out of this, and I kind of like that he decided to throw it out there in week 18 just to be like, hey, here's something that you guys haven't seen yet, just to let you know that I can be a little off base a little bit.
Yeah, we haven't seen much Wildcat, but honestly, this play gives me a lot of vibes. I think it was the Cowboys game, the Thanksgiving game a few years ago with the pass to Josh Allen. Am I getting that right? There was like a double reverse or just a single reverse to a wide receiver. It was probably John Brown.
Yeah.
He threw it to Josh. I don't know if it was the Cowboys, but it's a very similar type of motion where it's instead of just a handoff to a running back and then you kind of reverse it, toss it to a wide receiver going in the other direction. And then there's Josh Allen in the other direction on a little leak route. This kind of feels like that, where it's like you could have handed it off to McKenzie and then Josh Allen's going out on a route. But even then it's like, it's a little weird because he's flowing to the same side that the route would be run on. It's not very misdirection-y to have the jet motion go in the same direction that the route's going to go. But you can see the way Diggs plays it too. it almost seems like there's something happening. There's something else. There's another option that's to be had on this play. Because you can see Diggs is waiting for something. He's like, if McKenzie gets the ball, something else is happening on this play.
Yeah, that's interesting. And something else they could do out of this is give the ball to McKenzie here, have Josh swing back,
right,
and
then
have Josh be the reverse guy. He gets the ball, he's running right, which is his strength, and you send Diggs deep.
Yep.
Could be something we might see. I don't know. That's why I think it's so cool, because they can do tons of different things out of this, and no one has any idea what it's going to be, because all they did is just have Singletary run the ball up the gut on this play. So I think it's pretty cool. Some people thought it was like a little silly that it's just Josh standing still. He's doing his best Jay Cutler impression. But I thought it was a cool little wrinkle that he's adding in week 18.
Absolutely. Oh, that's all we got. All right.
That's all we got for Jets.
All right. So we're moving on to mine. Let me just get mine queued up here. All right. So I wanted to look at some of the stuff that the Dolphins did this past week to beat the Patriots. And I mean, the Patriots have just kind of had struggles with what the Dolphins do for whatever reason. And a lot of what I boiled it down to was kind of defending the flats, which is kind of what we talked about earlier with the screen passes, but it's defending the flats, it's pre-snap motion, and it's RPOs. And the Dolphins did this a lot this game, where you see someone in pre-snap motion, and on this play, he's running a wheel route to the back of the end zone. But what they have is an RPO with the running back here, and then someone is running either beneath the formation, or they're just running a flat route to the same side as to his face, so he can see everything happening in front of him. The RPO is happening to his front side, not his back side. So on this play, he's got the RPO on his front side. He has a flat route right in front of him. He can see that if it's open, it's wide open. He goes for it, but it's not. And you can see Waddle just kind of leaking into the back of the end zone. And really what this does is it puts so much stress on a defense, because the entire middle of the field here has to focus on the run action here. And at that point, Tua's already on the move. He's taking the ball out of the gut of the running back. He's on the move, and you're just limited down to 3 easy reads in between 4 receivers. The slant isn't there. They're all taking away the quick slant. And because the quick slant is taken away, they're all in the same area that the flat's supposed to be. So the wheel route is open in the back of the end zone. J.C. Jackson gets a little too attached to Parker on this play, but I mean, how can you blame him? You got a quick slant going right in front of you. You got to have a lot of trust in your guy to pass him off. And I mean, that's really all he could have done on this. He's just got to trust that his guy's got him. He's got to pass him off, and he's got to defend his deep, third of the end zone on this play. And he just couldn't. But that's what an RPO, and specifically RPO move structures, do to a defense. When you have RPO and your quarterback on the move set up as the design, it really puts a lot of stress on the defense, even though you're only limiting your offense to one half of the field.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the way that they go as far to the sideline as possible with this RPO. Like, everything is you got your guy lined up on the outside with Parker. He's coming inside, and you send someone all the way out. I feel like the Bills, more often than not, I know they do have, kind of quick outs and things with their RPOs as well, but I feel like for the most part, they like to go more toward the middle of the field with their RPO passes. A lot of the time it's Stephon Diggs or Gabe Davis doing kind of like a quick slant route over the middle, kind of like what Parker is doing here, but most of the time they would throw to that route specifically. Maybe the outsides will be a little more open based on what we're seeing here.
Yeah, that's definitely, we're going to get to it. I have a play in here that's more akin to what the Bills do on RPOs. But yeah, we definitely like to attack the middle of the field on the quick slant. So yeah, maybe that's the direction we have to start going. Really, where I wanted to start going was that we got to hit this flat on the RPO move, because we see Dawson Knox open on these a lot. We've run these, I don't want to say a lot, but we have ran this type of action where we have the RPO, and then it's like kind of a shuffle off to that same side, and you have the slant going on that same, the flat route from the tight end going on that same side. So that's what I would like to target, because I think it puts a lot of stress on what we're comfortable doing, which is attacking the middle, and you got to take away the slant, or you got to take away the flat, and one or the other is going to be open to churn out some short yardage on obviously what's going to be a wintry day in Buffalo on Saturday. So got to get those easy, quick completions, and this is a way to manufacture them.
Yeah, and I can't remember if specifically it was that type of play, but I think that might have been kind of like Dawson Knox touchdown against the 49ers on Monday night last year.
It was similar.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought, where they had him kind of go underneath a little bit, toss it off to him, and then he was able to run it in. I can't remember if that's actually what it was, but that's what that made me think of. And yeah, so we know that Dawson Knox has the ability to go and make a play when he's got the ball like that. So
exactly, it's similar to that play, like the play against the Colts in the playoffs last year. The one flowing to the left where Josh did the little shuffle pass to him a couple weeks back. It's all similar. It's just obviously dependent on which way the play is flowing. They're not all going to look the same. The way Tua runs it isn't going to be the same way that Josh runs it, but we can mimic some aspects of this for sure. So I wanted to also take a peek at some of the stuff that the Patriots were doing on offense, and I really liked how the Dolphins defended this play in particular, because we see the Patriots run this crack toss play all the time. Like they run this play religiously, not just against us, but it seems to work very well against us. And a big key to this is what happens to these two defenders here and what Hunter Henry does to make sure this outside lane is sealed. And he makes sure that outside defender is not going to get to his running back. There's a clear lane to the outside. But what takes this play away is obviously the flow of the inside defenders to take away any potential cutback. But on this play, you can't let the running back get to the sideline and get the edge, because then he's all the way up the field and it's game over. Xavier Howard does a really nice job of getting to the line of scrimmage and establishing the edge of where the edge of this play really is, because usually this is where you're setting the edge. But because of the play design and the crack block right here and the toss all the way to the outside, you have to see your cornerback play strong, get to the point of attack decisively, and set that edge and force the cutback. And because of where the rest of the defense was and they clogged up that cutback lane, everyone's doing their 111th. Everyone's minimizing this gain. You see it's only a 2-yard gain here. So it's not an easy play to defend, but I think we have the horses in the stable to do it. We have athletic linebackers. We have good tackling cornerbacks in Dane Jackson and Levi Wallace. They just have to be decisive with their run fits, and they have to play downhill to force cutbacks towards the inside. As dangerous as cutbacks back to the inside can be, on a play like this, it's better than getting the edge for the most part, but it's all dependent. This play is very dependent. Defending this play is very dependent on everyone doing their job and getting their run fits correct, because it puts a lot of stress on the cutback and it puts a lot of stress on the edge.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is everyone has to be doing their job. And it's the same thing with the offense. You know, if everyone on the offense does their job right, it's going to be a successful play. And we saw that against the Bills. So this is definitely a play that they're going to see a lot. It's going to be really cold. Mac Jones is going to be in the scuba suit again. And it's probably not going to be easy for him to throw the ball. So I'm expecting more throws than the wind game.
Yes.
But definitely I'd expect less throws than when we played in New England. I think they're really going to try to run the ball as much as they can, which, you know, the Bills just have to force them to throw the ball. Basically, if they take an early lead or anything to avoid plays like this that are so hard to stop, and you have to be so disciplined as a defense to be able to stop them. But yeah, I mean, this is a great kind of example of how it's done, and filling that gap and meeting the puller or the fullback. Even I can't tell exactly who that is that gets met in the hole there, but yeah, everything's really well executed here from top to bottom.
Yeah, I had to include it because this play has beaten us bad. It has beaten us bad on multiple occasions.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this play is more towards what we're used to seeing on this RPO action. It's very similar as the play that I showed before, but instead of having someone flow on this side and just get all the way across on that wheel route, you're really just seeing a simple RPO action, tight end into the flat, take your man into the flat, and open up a window here for this quick slant. I actually didn't even bother to look if this is zone or man. I can't tell, honestly, with the RPO action. But either way, that's looks the like kind zone. Of stress. Yeah, it looks like zone with the way these back three guys are playing.
Yeah, the way the corners kind of drop off, it looks like zone. And then, you know, like a 3 deep. And then McCourty in the middle is kind of just trying to read the quarterback.
Run action.
Yeah.
That just looked like man up there to me, and it just got me rattled. But either way, you're probably right. He's probably just playing the flat area. But But yeah, this is the kind of stress that an RPO is going to put on a defense. Like I said, you really have to, when you're religiously running RPOs, the defense every single play has to play run first. They have to play run first. And that's something the Bills got away from at a point this season, not necessarily saying RPOs, but when you get away from the run game, a defense isn't necessarily playing the run first every down. They're kind of cheating the pass sometimes. And when you run this many RPOs, even when you pull it out of Singletary's gut, you're still getting that play action fake, and you're still forcing those linebackers to respect the run. And because of that, you get a clear opening in this window here for the first layer of the defense on that quick slant. Obviously, it's dropped here, but that's not the focus of this play. But then, obviously, something we've had trouble with all year, got to watch these illegal men downfield. Like this is not going to get called. This is 2 yards. I think technically that should be called, but it's not going to be called. And that's really the name of the game. You can't be egregious when you're climbing on these RPOs. You got to stay disciplined, and you got to make sure you're staying attached to your man. You're not climbing upfield to the second level too quickly. If a linebacker tries to get back into their zone, you do not follow them, because you're gonna get flagged.
Yeah, and it's, not much else to say really, but Darrell Williams has been a big culprit of that, where he just loves going downfield a little bit too early. So maybe get him a stopwatch or something that he can wear during the game, so he knows when he's supposed to release. But yeah, I mean, the RPOs like this that they run over the middle, this is something that they love to do with Gabe Davis and with Stephon Diggs to run these routes. So yeah, it's definitely something. And once again, they have that tight end motioning across kind of underneath. He's actually in there he actually ends up in there.
Yeah, this is a split zone block, and then this guy's just running out into the flat. So it is truly like, this is an RPO. You got run blocking everywhere up front, and you got 3 routes coming out the backside of this play. So yeah, RPOs are tough to defend, man. They're tough to defend. And if this is zone, like if this is a true like sit back cover 4 type zone, like we're gonna see this flat much more open from this guy here because of the alignment. And the Dolphins being in a tight 12 personnel, you get this guy really close to the man he's guarding, and this flat is just never open. It's never open just because of the alignment and the personnel that the Dolphins are in. But if the Bills find themselves in 11 personnel and they're spread out a little bit wider, those guys, if they're playing a cover 4 or a cover 3, they're going to be off the ball a little bit. Plus, they're probably going to defend the Bills differently than they're defending the Dolphins, in all honesty. So we're probably going to see this flat open up a little bit more on this type of action, but who knows if the Bills have it in their playbook. But that's something I want to see. I want to see this RPO action mimicked at least a little bit this week.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The RPOs are something that they have to utilize, and yeah, the space is huge here, and those linebackers are really selling up on that. In the way that Singletary's been playing, hopefully that's a trend that continues.
Yeah, seriously, it's all Singletary is changing this team, man. The way he's been playing this past few weeks. All right, so we are going to get to my 4th play. I got another one after this, but this is really just a quick one. Like, this is not going to be something we're going to see a ton of this week just because of the weather and based on everything we've seen with how Belichick manages Mac Jones in the weather. I don't expect him to go for a ton of passes like this in Buffalo, but what needs to be mentioned here, it's very short and simple. If Mac Jones has a clean pocket and he's comfortable in the pocket, he is a above average competent passer of the football. And we can't just sit here and say that Mac Jones is some trash garbage quarterback. He is a good quarterback, but there's always a way to rattle every quarterback in a league. Everyone has something that makes them tick. And for a rookie quarterback that's still learning how to keep himself protected and how to get his offensive line into the best protections, overwhelming that front 5, the offensive line for the Patriots, that's going to be a big name to the game for the Buffalo Bills and a big key to victory. That's why I highlighted defensive line play in the Jets game. This is going to be a big part of it. And like this is a dime, but he's absolutely unstartled in the pocket. Nothing but comfort in there. He gets hit on the back of the head like 2 seconds after he throws the ball. Like, there's nothing but comfort on this play, and he just drops in a bucket for Hunter Henry. So, name of the game, obviously our secondary has to hold it down, but it's always attached to defensive line pressure. There's always that relationship between secondary coverage and defensive line pressures. So it's got to be twofold this Saturday.
Yeah, and I think it looks like they're running a cover 3, and is this a cover 3? It's so hard for me to tell.
I really haven't looked.
Because maybe it's not, but it looks like maybe that corner on the far side should be dropping back. He gets sucked in a little bit.
Yeah, it's a cover 3. Howard is staying attached to Bourne way too long.
Yeah, and it could definitely happen against us as well. But I feel like, discipline wise, plays like this, definitely as far as the route concepts go, this is something that the Bills can take care of. But yes, to your point, they have to get in there and they have to get inside Mac Jones' head, especially because the cold is already going to get in his head. Playing in weather that absolutely sucks, and you have to wear your scuba suit so that you don't die or freeze to death. But that's already going to be something that's on his mind. And if you get in there and you hit him a little bit, it hurts getting hit in the cold. So
yeah,
that he'll remember that, and he's not going to want to get hit. And we saw it a little bit even the last game where he started to. There were a couple of plays where you could see him start to panic a little bit in the pocket when things started to collapse around him. That's exactly what they need to do. They just got to get in his head early.
Couldn't agree more. Definitely agree that winning this game early is going to go a long way towards winning the entire game. So yeah, what we can do to rattle the quarterback early and get ahead early is going to be a big part of this. So I've been talking up this RPO flat stuff for the whole time we've been watching this Dolphins-Pats game. And this is a little more complicated than just an RPO flat because we don't have that quick slant on this side of the field from Jalen Waddle. He's just blocking. This is a flat screen in essence. It is an RPO, but Tua likes what he sees pre-snap because this safety is far too off his man. He's probably expecting all 5 of these guys to come rushing, and we got a flat here and we got a screen here. There's one guy to guard 2 guys essentially. And if you take this hat on a hat out of the play here because we got a block, this is an easy gain. Especially like with the run action, you know so much about like who's coming and who's going. Like if you have 5 guys on the offensive line and you're running RPOs as much as you are, they have to come crashing down and play the run first. It's a nice play design and it's executed very well. But this is part of it where it's generating easy completions in tough weather. This is part of it. It has to be part of the run game this week because if it's in inclement weather, we're going to want to run the football, but you can't just run the football all game, especially considering what our offense is. So we have to have an element of a pop gun offense where it's like a Dolphins offense or a Steelers offense where you're quick passing to run some of the time. So this is another way to do that.
Yeah, I think getting the ball out fast early, get those easy completions, get the ball past the line of scrimmage and do it easily, do it fast. Dink and dunk is going to be the name of the game, at least for the first couple of quarters until things start to open up after that. But yeah, this is the type of play that I love. Someone said it looks like Waddle's holding. I think it's just because he puts his hands up after he blocks, which, he might be downfield blocking a little bit early. Is always a little ticky-tacky when you're in that area doing stuff like that. But yeah, this is a great play, and just, like we said, getting the ball out to someone in space is just so important sometimes to get the flow of the game going.
Yeah, and imagine, what a Dawson Knox could do after this versus Dylan Smythe or something. Yeah. I don't even know. It's Smythe. I don't know his first name.
Yeah, I don't either. All right, let's move on then to some of the other stuff that I want to talk about here. So what I did is I went through and I watched the last 2 Patriots games, the last 2 Bills versus Patriots games, and looked at some of the things that worked and looked at some of the things that didn't work. And, when the Bills are losing on a play, why was it? And when they're winning on a play, why was it? So I try to put together some, kind of a list of do's and don'ts that I think the Bills should try to focus on. And if they should do these things, put these things into their game plan and because they've been successful before. So full disclosure, I am not an NFL GM. If you told me to make a game plan to beat the Patriots, I would cry. So, but one of the things I do think that they have to do, because it was so successful in the last game that they played, is utilize McKenzie and Diggs on the crosser routes. McKenzie on the crossers was just absolutely lights out. If they were running man coverage, no one could keep up with him. It really just wasn't fair. And on this play specifically, They have him lined up here on the outside. Diggs is on the inside. They motion McKenzie in and then have him run the crosser from there. And like he has to go through a linebacker. This defensive back just has no chance to catch up with him. And even late in the play, I mean, this safety here probably would have been there had the ball not already been thrown to McKenzie. But you've got another deep crosser over here in case, everything does kind of flow a little bit toward where McKenzie is. When you run those kind of counteracting crossers, that's Emmanuel Sanders on this one. It really opens it up and allows you to, have those options on both sides of the field in case those defensive backs decide to flow in either one of those directions.
I definitely agree. This is something the Bills have to do early in this game because similar to what the Patriots are going to do, this is how you play a team for the third time. You do what worked for you. You do what worked for you in the game that you won. And the Patriots are going to try to run the football early. For the Bills, it's about stopping that. On offense, conversely, the Bills are going to have to show that they want to run these crossers. And they should do it until the Patriots show they can defend it, that they have an answer for it. It's just the nature of making adjustments and how you're going to attack a familiar defense. It's unwise to try new things right off. It's unwise to try new things off the bat when you know something has already worked. It's the old phrase, what isn't broke, don't fix it, that kind of thing. You try what has worked, and until it doesn't, then you go to your adjustment. And that's what they have game plan this week. I'm sure this isn't what they're relying on to work all week, but you have to try this early and often, and you try it until it doesn't work because it worked a hell of a lot in this game.
That's the thing. This play worked until the fourth quarter, until the clock hit zeros. This play was working like the entire game. And they had plenty of time to make their adjustments and try to stop it. But if you catch them in man coverage like this and McKenzie's on the field, it's just not going to go well for you. So it's going to be able to happen from time to time. And they did run a couple plays in this game where most of what they were doing were kind of zone beater concepts where you have guys kind of going out to a set distance, turning around and finding the gap in the zone. But they also had McKenzie running a crosser on some of those to kind of be like, okay, well, this is a mainly zone beater play, but if for some reason they are in man, we have that option with McKenzie as a crosser. So even just to do something like that as somewhat of a safety net or another option to have, I think is wise to do, just because, like you said, we know that it works already.
Exactly.
Don't put Edmonds one-on-one with a running back. This is a pretty obvious one, and it doesn't happen very often. I'm sure it was just a personnel mismatch, and this just happened to be the way that it went. But Edmonds is one-on-one with a running back in pass pro, and everyone's in man here. So I'm never going to expect Edmonds to win these. He's not quick enough laterally and fast enough in a straight line to be able to cover these guys. And it shows here. Mac Jones does a pretty good job of kind of escaping a dirty pocket, I guess. He didn't really need to roll out that direction to get rid of the ball, but doing anything to avoid this, having someone else there, at least maybe a safety rolling down that can help, but they're running a cover 2 man here. So, what are you going to do about it? The Patriots have 3 wide, so you kind of have to be ready to play against that. And Edmonds is the guy that kind of gets screwed having to cover one-on-one. So it still might happen. That's the thing, is sometimes you're just not able to avoid these things because of the play call, and you don't know what their play call is, and it's probably going to happen. But if there's any way to avoid it, at all costs.
So here's my advice. This is how I would avoid it. Can you pause it at the start of the sideline view?
Sure.
That way I can see everyone's alignment. So right here, we have a tight split on the bottom side of your screen with a wide receiver and a tight end. And then on the top side of the screen, well, more importantly, in the backfield, we have a shotgun offset to the left. So the tight end and the running back are on opposite sides. This probably goes against the Bills' defensive principles, and I'm not here to say we should change the playbook and defensive alignments and stuff like that. Easy fix to this, though. Put Edmonds on the other side and Milano on the other side. That way, Milano is clearly, if we're in 2-man, if we're in cover 2 man coverage, then you just put Milano aligned face to face with the running back, and you put Edmonds closer to the tight end. That way, if they go out into routes, Edmonds is on the tight end and Milano is on the running back. It's not a perfect fix, but it's a Band-Aid. It's something that can help get your more agile guy on the running back. That's probably more agile, and get your physical guy on the tight end. That's probably more physical. So it's definitely not a silver bullet. I'm sure that goes against a lot of like their run fit designs for if this was a running play, like they want Edmonds in the left A gap and they want Milano in the right B gap for this reason and that reason. So it probably goes against that, but maybe cost benefit analysis or risk benefit analysis, you flip those linebackers. So that's my thoughts on it. But like I said, like you said, we're not GMs. We're not coaches. We're film analysts doing this because we love the Bills. So that's what we would do based on how we know this team. So that's my advice.
Rico's in the chat as well, saying to take a look at Dane Jackson at the bottom of the screen, which I didn't even do that previously. Dane Jackson's over here, and like we said before, it's they're running a cover 2, and he knows that he has a little bit of help over top.
Exactly. So you got to play that first move.
Exactly. Since he knows that he's got help over top, he's very aggressive with that first move. And, it doesn't pay off this time, but maybe at one point it will pay off. And that, that is an outside comeback route where he can go and make a play on the ball where if Mac Jones kind of throws up a butterfly with his noodle arm. But yeah, I really like the way Dane Jackson plays. He plays pretty smart for a guy who has not seen a lot of reps in the NFL, and kind of knowing when he's able to take the risks and when he has to be a little bit more conservative. So yeah, I've been nothing but pleased with him so far.
Pretty good hip fluidity too on that.
Yeah,
recovery.
He gets turned around and doesn't lose that much.
He doesn't lose all that much, and yeah, like you said, it's really about what coverage is being played. Because if this is cover 3 and we see Poyer go into kind of that robber area, Dane is not playing that first move because he is responsible for that deep third on the bottom side of the screen. He just wouldn't play it that aggressively. But yeah, like you said, because he has safety help on his deep half, you have to try and take away that first read from Mac because he is a, get into your drop, plant on that back foot and fire. You want to take away that easy timing completion. And that's what that quick out was kind of speed out was setting up to be. So you got to try and take it away.
Yeah, another thing too that I didn't even realize until just now is that everything is kind of flowing to this side of the field and the running back is flowing the opposite direction. So plays like this is, when you've got just Edmonds on that running back, after he catches this ball, if Edmonds isn't able to track him down, that is a damaging play for the Bills defense. They give up a first down, but it's not a touchdown. It could have been a lot worse. So thankfully Edmonds is athletic enough to still make a play on the ball carrier after the catch.
He stinks. What are we doing?
Yeah,
I don't know what you're talking
about. Get rid of the
Clay.
Guy. Yeah, I know. Anytime I say anything negative about Edmonds or something where he has a weakness, I feel like people are gonna think I hate him. So, not the case. This one's super simple. Use pre-snap motion. They've been doing it a lot. I know that they're gonna do it, but the way that it helps out Josh Allen and the rest of the offense in so many ways. And in this case, they're motioning Zach Moss, which is not common, but there weren't a lot of plays that were available for all 22 film from this game. This was just one of the ones where I saw that it was, usable. But when you do motion across, immediately what the coverage is. At least for the most part, unless they have a man on the other side that can pick it up in man coverage. But he's motioning across and no one is following him. We know that it's zone coverage. Josh knows it's zone coverage, so he knows that when he gets this and rolls out, he can just hit this little pop pass here right at the bottom.
Yeah.
Easy enough. Yeah, really not much that much more to say about that one. It's just I think they need to utilize it as much as possible. It affects the linebackers and gets them moving in the wrong direction.
Yeah,
and in this case, if I can get there, and in this case, you can even kind of see like there's four guys over here that are like first taken out of the play because that's the first step, and we're rolling to the right, so they're out of the play already, and we've got a deep crosser here as well. So
yeah, no. Like you said, it is a really good play design because it tells you if you're in man or zone. And because you're in zone, you pretty much know what's happening on this bottom side of the field because you have this, what is this concept? it's not switch. I'm blanking on the smash, where you have the corner and the curl underneath it. It's really easy read at that point, because if you see this safety on the top side, he just rolls into the middle of the field. So you're like, all right, it's some form of cover one, which it probably isn't at this point, because we saw pre-snap motion, it's zone. So it's either cover three or it's cover two. And because you see where he ends up, you're like, okay, it's cover three. Jalen Mills on the bottom side of the screen is going to be taking away that corner route. So I got to go down to that curl route quickly. But if you see that safety, instead of rotating towards the middle of the field, and he kind of just rolls back into the numbers more on the bottom side of the field, you feel a little bit more confident about hitting that whole shot to the corner route, because number two, Jalen Mills on the bottom side of the screen, is more attached to Emmanuel Sanders. So like you said, pre-snap motion is going to give Josh Allen more answers pre-snap for where he can go with the football. So however we can utilize it, even if it is Zach Moss on a fake jet sweep, it all helps in any little way that it can.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's just the amount of information that it provides for you. It's crazy that people don't use pre-snap motion as much as they possibly can. So yeah. Someone said Mills is out as well, which I forgot about. He's on the COVID list, no? Something like that?
I think so, yeah.
So that's pretty big.
I don't know what's going on with Barmore.
Yeah, me either.
I know he got like an MRI, but I haven't looked into it yet.
Yeah, MRI was negative, so no, ligament damage or anything like that, as far as I know. So I think there's a possibility, maybe. I haven't looked at any of the injury reports, but I can't imagine that even if he's out there, that he's not on a snap count.
Right.
Because when you get carted off, it's tough.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next. Don't put 10 in the box. I don't know. It feels that I'm exaggerating a little bit, but that's basically 10 in the box. And this is the touchdown play from the first time that these two teams met each other. And I think my biggest problem with this is that everyone is in range to be blocked, except for Micah Hyde, who over pursues on the play because he's the only safety out there. And he's, the edge is established pretty well by Levi Wallace. I don't have a problem with what Levi Wallace is doing. He
forces the cutback, like we said with Xavier Howard on that. This is the same play.
Yes, it is the same play that the Patriots are running as the play we saw them run against the Dolphins too. This toss crack, but it's in a different personnel package. I think they were going as heavy as they could in this wind. I expect them to be pretty heavy, a lot of heavy sets, not as heavy as this. And I think the reason why they've got so many guys in the box is because like everyone is right here. Yeah. Everyone on the field is right there in that little bubble. So they felt okay doing it. But my biggest problem with this is that Jordan Poyer is over here on the outside. And, had he not been sent on a blitz on this play,
he can flow on the backside of this.
He would have been the guy on the backside that could flow through this cutback lane and would have been there to make the tackle. Harrison Phillips, I do not know how, almost makes a play on this. Just by kind of reading the play and seeing what's going on because it's such a sharp cutback. Wow. But yeah, that it's just the way that the Bills can over pursue and the way that the Patriots are able to get to their blocks so efficiently. It's I would like to have them a little bit more spread out. And even in the play that we saw against Miami had, I think, maybe 4 or 5 guys at the line of scrimmage. They had couple linebackers back. Everyone had their distance from each other. They weren't all clumped up in this condensed space. And I understand that you're worried about, kind of runs up the middle like that. But sending Poyer on a blitz here, I just don't think is necessary because, at best, he's going to get you a loss of 2. At worst, we're looking at it. Yeah. So I'd much rather take that and err on the side of caution a little bit more, especially, if they're in a set where it's like, they're going to be running it. So yeah, given the circumstances, I'm sure they felt more comfortable putting that many guys up there. Right. But even still, I wouldn't recommend that.
Yeah, it's generally unadvisable. And I mean, at this point, it's kind of crazy because this was early in the game. This wasn't at the point where they were like, oh, okay, Mac Jones has only thrown it twice and we're in the second half. So they don't know that it's going to be this kind of game at this point, but they are very much committed to that type of game, putting 10 guys in the box. But yeah, I couldn't agree more with what you said about just spreading them out. Like, it doesn't have to be the same type of, like, can you pause it right there at the beginning of the end zone view?
Yeah.
Like, where everyone is lined up is so tight, including the linebackers. Like, both the linebackers are inside the tackles. If they just both, if Edmonds is, obviously he's probably designed to be in that A gap and not just head up on the center. But if he's more centered up so he can play both sides, and then the linebackers are a little bit wider than the tackles, you don't necessarily need Poyer to be up where he is. He can be a few yards back. Yeah. And even Levi Wallace could get a little bit wider from Harry if who's that, Dodson is playing a little bit outside of 76, Isaiah Wynn. So a lot of that, like you said, is because everyone's in reach for the Pats to block. It's a very good point. Like, everyone's technically in their run fits. Like, everyone's in the right area that they need to be. Edmonds is worried about the edge. Hyde is worried about the edge. And yeah, like you said, Poyer isn't on that backside for the cutback because he's being sent on that blitz. So it's very tough to defend this play like we showed in that Dolphins game. But I mean, when you put yourself right next to the guys blocking you, you're taking yourself out of this play because it's already forcing you, or it's putting so much stress on your defense horizontally. If you're getting blocked right off the snap, you can't even get horizontal. And those that did, they over pursued it, and everyone else is still playing catch up on the other side because they're so close to the guys blocking them. So it was kind of that perfect storm. It's a tough play to defend, and this is one of those instances where we kind of made. This is one of those instances where we made it a little bit tougher on ourselves to defend.
Yeah, definitely, and that's really just my biggest complaint with it is we didn't need to put ourselves in a situation where we could even get beat like this. But I'm not going to pretend like the Patriots didn't make a fantastic play here, like all 11 guys doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing type of a play. Like, this is perfection, chef's kiss. This is the example play that you play for your football team when you're teaching them how to do the toss crack. So yeah. Tough play.
Tough. It's tough watching this play.
I know. We can move on. So do maintain gap integrity, and this kind of goes along with the last play as well. But gap integrity is so important against these New England Patriots because the way that they open up the gaps, it's just easy for him to slip through to the second level like this. And I'm going to go to the second level or the second view because you can see it a little bit better here. But Edmonds gets held up a little bit by, did I put the same clip in twice? Maybe I did.
Uh-oh.
Okay. So I don't have the end zone view. But let's see. Lost where I am now. Okay. Back to it. So Edmonds gets held up a little bit here. Milano, I actually think, does a pretty good job of getting over to where he needs to be, and he forces the cutback inside to where Edmonds should be. Edmonds getting held up a little bit. He does shed the block, but then after he does, he's not able to quite get over. Yeah, and there's just an extra blocker there. This is maybe a bad example because, once again, like, the Patriots are just so good at blocking this play up. They do it so effectively that it's really hard to be able to maintain gap integrity. But there were a few plays from this game where it just feels like the linebackers are not really flowing at times to where they need to be. It's like they're almost kind of waiting to receive the block because they know that it's coming. And that's what I think more than anything is what I want them to do is flow to the gap that they're supposed to be in, right from the snap instead of trying to just kind of sit and wait a little bit. I understand, play action is going to be something that can hurt you if you flow a little bit too fast, but at least get yourself going in the right direction of where you need to be. But yeah, that's just going to be a big key.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And we saw the contrast of it in this particular game against the Patriots where Milano was playing very slow to get to the gap to begin. He was kind of trying to maintain that gap integrity, but almost in a really conservative fashion. And he needed to be a hair more aggressive getting to that gap. So he forces the issue for the running back to cut back or pick a different lane than the designed run gap, whatever it is. And then we started to see him start to shoot those gaps. And we saw him get, I think, back-to-back tackles for loss after that. So there is some merit to changing how you're playing your gap integrity, because you all need to stay in the right gaps, but doing it faster will dictate how the running back is going to see the play and how they're going to want to make their cuts in the backfield. Because if you take away the designed run gap early, it's going to force a bounce out to the sideline or a cut back towards the inside of the field. So I do think playing a little bit too conservatively was a bit of an issue in this game, because there were times, obviously, we're sending blitzes. Like here, we got like 9 guys in the box on this play. Like it's very similar. Like we're sending everyone, like everyone's there playing the run, but they're all playing it very slow. It's a very slow play of the run. They're all flowing in the general direction, but slowly. They're not really shooting any gaps, and that is also part of gap integrity. Like if you shoot gaps too quickly, you lose that gap integrity. So it is about the type of run that's being played against you as much as the type of way that you're maintaining your gap integrity. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the Bills combat these pulling guards from the Patriots, because they really like to get after that man gap power running scheme. So it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to attack it, or I guess defend it this week.
Yeah, and I'm a little disappointed in AJ Epinesa on this play too, just as I'm noticing now. I'm not really sure what he's doing here, kind of just flowing into defenders. He could be making a play on this.
Yeah, this is the Rousseau example. Like it's
exactly.
the same kind of thing. He's just not aggressively going to the ball.
Right. Rousseau makes this play, I think, but Epinesa for some reason is just not there. If he goes right now, then he can maybe get there and slow him up at least a little bit until Edmonds can get there to fill that gap. But yeah, it's tough. AJ Klein wasn't playing in this game either, and I don't think that helped because they use him in situations like this. But yeah, it's going to be tough. The next one, I didn't put it yet, but this one is don't miss the easy tackles. And this is just the first view of it. It's just little things like this. Going through and watching that first game, there were just so many of these little missed tackles where it's like you have the guy wrapped up. You've got both of your arms wrapped up around the guy. You have to make those tackles against the Patriots. You cannot give up these easy tackles. And to me, I think that was probably their biggest issue in this game, and why it felt like they were not playing the run defense very well. And like, it felt like they were getting destroyed in run defense, which they really weren't as a whole. They were making a lot of good run stops in this game. But then there were plays like this where, there's 2 guys missing easy tackles and they're getting an extra 5 yards out of this play because of it. In the other angle, we can see you got Star Lotulelei right in the gap, ready to make the play perfectly. I mean, it's picture perfect right about here. That is exactly what you want. You've got a defensive tackle standing in the gap where the running back is going. Your linebacker has come in and taken away that other lineman, and then 2 guys. I mean, even Taron Johnson is trying to make something happen from the middle of a huge mess, and he isn't able to get there. But Star just has to make this tackle. And this is just an example. I'm not trying to specifically pick on Star for this, because there were a lot of plays like this throughout the whole game. Everyone was missing tackles in this game, and that's just completely unacceptable at this kind of a level. The Jaguars won games. The reason the Jaguars were able to actually win games is because they were some of the surest tacklers in the league when they did it. Against the Bills, I don't know if they missed a single tackle. So it wins and loses games for you, really.
Yeah. No, it's understated. I mean, being able to tackle a ball carrier is very important, and being able to tackle a ball carrier without a lot of yards after contact is another thing, because it's one thing to tackle someone and then also allow him to run through you for 2 to 3 extra yards prior to the tackle. And that's part of the reason, like you said, that this game got out of hand in the fashion that it did for the Bills, where the Patriots didn't need to pass the football because they were doing things like this, where if you make a guy miss, or if you make 2 guys miss, you're really ahead of schedule in terms of down and distance, and you don't have to pass the football. So that's why 100% we can't miss the easy tackles. tackles. Because if we miss the easy tackles, is this the other angle for the other play?
I screwed it up. I put the don't miss the easy tackle play in the middle. This is the other angle for the gap integrity, where you can see there is no one in this gap, even for that guy to block. He has to kind of go around. Anyway, sorry.
No, I mean, really, it is as simple as you can't miss easy tackles, because if you make the easy tackles and you don't allow too many yards after contact, it's going to force Mac Jones to pass on longer third downs in bad weather, and that plays into the strength of our defense and the weaknesses of their offense. So it really is about down and distance, and controlling that down and distance is making sure tackles.
Yeah, exactly. This is a 1st and 10 play. And if you make the tackle right here, you've got 2nd and 8, which can set you up for a much better play. They got a first down on this, I think. Like, you're not only are you not setting yourself up for the next play, you're giving them a free first down, basically, because he's able to just kind of stumble his way all the way to all the way to that marker. And like, you have to be able the real key to this game is forcing Mac Jones to throw the football. That's how the Bills are going to be able to win, is getting the Patriots into situations where they need to throw.
Yeah, that's the key too, because it's like, obviously, if Mac Jones passes the ball 50 times, he's going to have some good plays, but it's about getting them into those situations where he has to throw. Like, it is a 3rd and long. We know it's a throw. When the Patriots are multiple and we don't know what's coming, that's when they're a really good offense. When it's first down and they're in a heavy set and they run a play action out of it, that's when Mac looks really nice. But when the Bills know that they're going to pass and the Patriots know they have to pass, that's our strong suit. That's their weakness for this matchup. So we got to get them into as many situations as possible. And part of that is getting up early, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, getting ahead early. If they have the opportunity to get the ball first, I want them to take it.
Really?
Usually I'm all for, kick first, receive after the half. I want them to get the ball and I want them to score immediately. Because if they can get the ball and they can score on the first drive, which, they've had success with doing before, they can usually move the ball pretty early with a good script. I think if they're able to do that, get a couple easy completions early on that first drive and just get points on the board, that is an automatic huge plus in forcing New England to run the football less, which really is I think that's huge. Everything. Yeah. If Mac Jones has to throw the ball 20 times, I think the Bills win the game, just because it's not that he's a bad quarterback. That's the thing. It's just he's a rookie quarterback. He's not completely experienced. He hasn't seen everything that he needs to see in order to be able to read defense as complex as what Sean McDermott and Leslie Frazier are putting out there. And it's the best passing defense in the league. So you have to get them off the ground and into the air, and that's how you win this game.
100%. I actually wanted to answer this because at this point we can kind of ramble a little bit about the Pats game. Silas comes in and says, who do you guys think is the best place to attack this Pats defense? And my instant thought is the middle of the field. They don't have the best coverage style linebackers. They have adequate linebackers who are definitely better in the thumper downhill run stopping role in Dante Hightower and Jawan Bentley. Those are two big linebackers, traditionally big linebackers, but they aren't the best in coverage. So I think that middle of the field, and they are really good on the back end when it comes, JC Jackson, Adrian Phillips, Kyle Duggar, Devin McCourty, they are good on the back end, and they are going to do their damnedest to make sure that we don't get any plays over the top of that back end of their secondary. So I feel like, and we highlighted it, I feel like it's that short to intermediate area off of RPOs, because that middle of the field and that short to intermediate area is right where you're putting those linebackers in stress positions. So I think that linebacker level is the area to attack, at least passing the football.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And, for me, obviously, if Mills isn't playing, you got to go after that. Whoever's stepping up and filling in his role. I'm sure he's probably not going to be terrible. In a Bill Belichick defense, he coaches these guys up really well. So, but you got to give him a couple chances and get yourself in situations where you put Stephon Diggs in the slot and you get JC Jackson to follow him to the slot. If you can do that, that's a huge plus.
Right.
And
the boundaries are open.
Exactly. Yeah. Get yourself in situations where, you use your playmakers to pull their playmakers away. I think that's probably what I would say in response to where to attack the Pats defense. But yeah, the linebackers as well. And then hopefully that those RPOs that they like to run over the middle with those quick slants, hopefully those will be successful with that.
Yeah, Silas comes in and responds and says, so Knox and our running back should eat in what we responded with the linebacker play. And it is funny because early in the second game against the Patriots, we saw a lot of feeding to Devin Singletary in the shallow part of those zones. And that's part of it. It is part of defending the Buffalo Bills. You don't want those deep shots to be completed. So like you've stressed and I've stressed, getting those quick, easy passes, building that confidence, it's going to be a big part of this game, because if you force them to respect those short areas of the field, the deeper areas of the field will open up, and ultimately that will open up our strength in this Buffalo Bills offense. So yeah, a lot of this is really about winning early, just based on game script. The way the Bills want to play a football game and the way the Patriots want to play a football game is vastly different. And to get it into the more strong side for what the Bills want to do, it's going to take winning early.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. And I want to bring up another question, Silas, and then kind of Chris S. also chiming in on that one. More Star or more Phillips? Chris S., can you see both Star and Phillips playing at the same time to stop the run? We got Dog 26 and Richard Forbes kind of are echoing things that I agree with. Play the hot hand as far as defensive tackle goes, and the hot hand right now is absolutely 100% Harrison Phillips. I think he's playing really, really good football right now. He's been a beast in the center. Just, he's finally kind of showing up to where the level that we wanted him to be at, and for where we drafted him. There was so much potential that he had, and those injuries kind of held him back a lot, and now we're seeing him closer to his full potential. So I would love to see more of him. I think he and Ed Oliver together on the field play really well together, and they complement each other very well. So yeah, it's definitely something where you got to play the hot hand. As far as seeing both of them on the field at the same time, I could see it happening. Especially because those are kind of your bigger guys, and if you want to get a little more beefy in there, and they do rotate defensive linemen quite frequently, so it's definitely something I could see on obvious running downs. But for the most part, I think the combo that we're going to see the most often is going to be Phillips and Oliver in the middle there. I'd like to see a lot of Greg Rousseau as well. More Greg Rousseau than anything else. And then, honestly, Jerry Hughes has been impressing me even with his age and everything. And I think Jerry Hughes is a guy that should get a decent amount of reps at the other end position.
I agree. Honestly, both Hughes and Addison have been really quite good this year, especially coming off the year that they had and all the ridicule they got this offseason. They have both been good in their own right. And it's kind of funny. I feel like Hughes has been better against the run, and Addison has been better as a pass rusher this year, which is probably a little bit off base for what we're probably used to with both of those guys. But I feel like that's generally what I've been seeing this year. I feel like Addison's really getting after the passer pretty well this year. He's doing a good job against the run, don't get me wrong, but I feel like Hughes is just doing different stuff against the run that we usually don't see from him. We usually see him trying to bend around the edge and, create pressure on the quarterback that way and not much else. But he is definitely creating value in more than just the situational pass rusher role. So yeah, it's definitely been understated. A lot of people want to see more from Jerry Hughes, but I think he has been adequate and definitely merits some snaps this game. But I need to echo what you said about Greg Rousseau. Greg Rousseau needs to have meaningful and significant snaps in this game. He's going to be a big part of stopping the run in the Patriots.
I agree. Run. I'm going to bring up Rico's comment real quick before we take off here. Ryan Bates' addition to this O-line is what I'm looking forward to. This game, much more different look they're going to get from this line. Ryan had been such a great infusion, and I'll agree with that. I think he brings a little bit of more of a strength in run blocking, at least from what I could tell. I like the way that he gets to a shoulder, if it's a reach block. I think he might be one of the better ones at actually being able to do it as far as the guards that we have in that locker room. So I think he's been a solid addition. I like him. The team likes him as well. And he and Josh seem to have a good relationship. So that's always good to have those guys in front of you like that. But I think he's been fun to watch. And honestly, I think we're all surprised that they didn't put him in earlier. But I'm not really sure what they were saving him for. I'm thinking maybe if there's a big injury, he's the guy that goes in for Morse or one of these other guys. But yeah, he could have been utilized a lot earlier, I think, and it would have been pretty successful. But the offensive line's been playing great recently.
Yeah, I mean, he just opens up a lot of different things that we can do from the guard position that Cody Ford and John Feliciano just simply can't do. Like Bates is plain and simple more athletic than both of those guys. Like Ford and Feliciano may be stronger, but it just seems like Bates is just the better athlete. He can get out and move faster. He can get to that design run gap faster on pin and pulls. Like you said, the reach blocks where he really has to be quick and fire off that line of scrimmage to get to his guy. All of that stuff, he has just been more athletic, and he offers a different dimension to this run game and allows the Bills to get back into that pin pull type of stuff that they like to do because he can get out in space and seal off defenders so seamlessly because he can just get there faster. And yeah, it's made a difference for Devin Singletary. It's made a difference for our offense. Definitely a good point, Rico. Like, it's a different game this time around because if we can run the football in bad weather against the Patriots, maybe it's not as important to get ahead early because we can do things that we aren't necessarily used to doing strong or our strength of our offense. But, when we find a little bit more multiplicity and versatility within this offense, run game, pass game, complementing each other, it's a different game plan that's going to be needed to stop this offense. So yeah, Rick Bates has opened up a lot.
Mm-hmm. And he's provided some great content as well in that picture that they took together. So,
for sure.
Silas Whittle coming in. Could we see Oliver on the edge opposite Groot with Starr and Phillips inside?
Dude, it's funny he said this because I literally thought this as we were talking about Starr and Phillips playing on the inside. I was like, I wonder if they're just going to put Oliver on the edge for rundowns. My only reservation about it is I don't know this at all. I don't know anyone's measurements. I'm kind of assuming Ed Oliver's more of a short and stout with not too long of arms.
Yeah.
And I think that can be an issue when you're defending the run against long offensive tackles. So that's why I would say it's unlikely. I think they would only want to use him on the edge as a rusher, as we saw in that one clip. But I could be totally off base. He could have I could be totally off base and he could have really long arms for all I know, but that's kind of where I stand with it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that as well. I think he's just much better suited on the inside. If anything, if we want to go with a heavy set, I would expect to see Starr, Phillips, Boogie, and Rousseau, and have Boogie be that bigger guy. Maybe F.A. Obata as well is another big guy that they've put in. Although I'm not a huge fan of F.A. Obata in run defense. I think he
has been good at pass rush. No, pass rush. You're right. Like, you are spot on. He has been really, since he started getting more snaps and then that, little setback with the injury happened, like, he was getting consistent pressure, like pass pressure too.
Yeah, he's looked great in pass rush, and he's very strong and big. So I like him in pass rush, but run defense, I'd like to see a little bit more. I haven't really seen a lot of good setting the edge type of run defense from him that I would like to see. So maybe not so much him. I would say it'd probably be Boogie, who has been getting a decent amount of reps actually. Boogie Basham has recently, at least. So yeah, I think if they're going to go heavy, those are probably the guys that they're going to throw in.
Agreed.
Thank you for the donation there, Silas. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Silas.
Yeah, someone, I think Rico asked me if I'm going to be reporting live from the game. I'll be there. So yeah, if you want to pull me on the pregame show, I'll be there as well. But yeah, you have any closing thoughts on going into this game or kind of wrapping up the regular season going into the playoffs?
Well, I guess what I'll say is, I'm kind of thinking about this as the team is probably thinking about this, where it's like, we did our job. We put ourselves in a good position. We won the division, give ourselves that first home game, all that good stuff, back-to-back AFC East champions. But you got to flush it. You got to celebrate it, and you got to flush it, and you got to move on because it literally means nothing to win the division if we lose this first game to the Patriots. It literally means nothing. So as excited as I am to win the division back to back, I'm putting my celebrations on hold because it doesn't mean much when you're playing that team for the third time. I mean, yes, we finished with a better regular season record than the Patriots this year. We were insanely inconsistent this year. There were a lot of things to talk about this regular season, but the regular season is flushed at this point. Like it really means nothing. It is a clean slate for every team. It is a new season, barring injuries. It is a clean slate. So we got to turn the page and we got to focus on what's next. And that's the Super Bowl run. Got to put it together.
Yeah, absolutely. This is what you play the regular season for,
right?
Is to punch your ticket to the playoffs, and that's what they've done. And that's going out through the whole year is my thing, is just make the playoffs, because that's when you got to win the games. And now it's time. You got to hit that second level. You got to break through the wall. You got to find different ways to win sometimes. And the Bills have not really been able to will their way into wins in close games before, and that concerns me a little bit that they haven't been able to do it, because when they do win, they win by at least double digits. That's what they've done so far this season. So it's a little concerning that in the close ones they've come up just a little bit short. But a lot of the guys in the locker room are saying that that's made them a tougher team. It's made them more resilient, and it's kind of shown them how delicate the balance can be in the NFL, and how quickly you can go from winning to losing. And yeah, I think that's something that having that experience and being part of those games is definitely going to help them out. So yeah, all you got to do is win the last game of the season, and everything was worth it. But yeah, this Patriots, I didn't want to play the Patriots just because
I also didn't. I didn't know what I wanted for a while, and then watching that crazy Chargers-Raiders game, I was like, I think I want the Chargers.
Yeah, I felt the same way, and I know that a lot of people wanted to play the Patriots so we can stick it to them, but it's still Bill Belichick.
Right. You don't want to play Bill Belichick 3 times in 1 year.
And they have a great run offense. They can run the ball very effectively. They're not as great of a passing offense, and that plays completely opposite to the
Chargers. It played to our strengths.
Exact. That's what I was saying.
That's where I was like at halftime of that game.
But
yeah.
So that was kind of my feeling as well. As I'd rather play a pass heavy team than a run heavy team.
And the Chargers would have froze here.
That is true. Yeah. But yeah, I was a little disappointed, but it's the Patriots. We've played them a couple times already, so we're familiar with each other. I think it's going to be a chippy game. There's going to be at least one taunting call, one personal foul after the play happening, because these guys want it, and we got a real rivalry brewing here that I think is going to be pretty exciting. And hopefully Mac Jones can just be mid the rest of his life and get carried by the defense, and hopefully that we stay on top of that rivalry.
Yeah, you're just rooting for that middling mediocrity for the Patriots.
I know. I want them to experience it so badly.
All right, anyway, I think we gotta give our score predictions. I saw too many people saying score predictions. So I don't know the wind yet, which is kind of like throwing a wrench in what I want to say.
Low
wind right now.
5 to 10.
That's beautiful. Honestly, that's nice. So low wind. I'm going to say like 30 to 24 Bills. I don't want to say there's going to be a ton of field goals, especially with the way the Bills have been playing football since that recent Patriots game. They've been uber aggressive, like going for all 4th downs in the red zone, pulling a page out of Brandon Staley's playbook, I guess. But I think we're going to actually take the points now that we're in the playoffs, and we're going to trust the defense, the top defense in the league that got us here. You put points on the board and you trust them to get some stops. So I think we're going to be taking points more than we're going to be going for it in the red zone. This will probably bite me in the ass because I've predicted this a few times this year and it's been wrong, but I think we'll kick field goals a couple of times, a few times, and we'll win 30 to 24. And like you said, a chippy game.
Yeah, that's a perfectly fine prediction. I guess my prediction would probably be something, 27, like 19. I think the Patriots are going to have a weird score because I think they are going to kick a lot of field goals. Just because I think the Bills are going to be able to lock them down a little bit in the red zone. Because I just don't have a lot of confidence in Mac Jones being able to throw the ball in the red zone there. And I think they're going to defend the run well. That's my hope anyway, is that if they do get into the red zone, that they force field goals. And I think it's very doable. I feel like a lot of the touchdowns that they do give up are chunk plays a lot of the time. So low scoring, fairly low scoring for the Patriots anyway. Not a lot of touchdowns. Hopefully, I don't think Josh Allen's going to have a problem throwing the ball. What I'm worried about is receivers catching the ball. It's going to be really cold. It's when they say dish the rock, they're talking about a real rock in this game. It is going to be really, really hard to catch. Wear gloves with pads, whatever it takes to help you catch that ball. But it's going to be difficult to catch because it's so cold out there. So I'm a little worried about that. But really, I don't expect that this should be too much of an issue for the Bills as long as they can, as long as Josh Allen can do his thing. The defense that they're playing against is very good, but Josh Allen's Josh Allen, man.
Yeah, if he can complete those short, easy passes, get some confidence early, like we saw in their second matchup against the Patriots, it'll go a long way. So yeah, nothing but hope and high praise for our guy Josh Allen. But yeah, now's the time.
So thank you for everyone who's been with us through the show here. We've had a lot of good comments in here, and this is a really fun show, and we kind of went over a little bit too, just talking to you guys, and that was a lot of fun. Kendall and I will both be on with, we've been invited to a huge playoff preview show with Cover One, so we're going to be joining them, so make sure you go watch that. That's going to be Friday night. So that's going to be a lot of fun, and thank you to the guys at Cover One who invited us to come on and do that. But yeah, beyond that, if you guys like this format, let us know in the chat here, in the comments section afterward, and then maybe this is something that we'll do in the future as we go through the playoffs as well. But beyond that, I don't really have much else to say other than go Bills.
Go Bills.